Oh, hello, and welcome to our Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we've got, it isn't Satan, it isn't monsters, it isn't the government.
It isn't yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
Just save you some time there.
Fair enough. Yes, because it is practically a handful of sentences.
It's a list of everything it isn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but everything is a lot of things.
Yeah. For those of you just joining us, CreepyPasta are creepy stories posted on the internet like over and over again. They get copied and pasted. So the name got turned into CopyPasta as a short term. And then it eventually, the creepy ones became known as CreepyPasta. So it isn't ... is what I'm, actually it's my shortened title for it because it's
Who
too
wants
damn
to
long.
write all that out?
Yeah. You can check it out if you want at the NoSleep Reddit threads. We'll leave a link on the description below. And we'll just jump right into this one. So, the story is about a guy who's a painter, and he's telling this story to us.
About how doorbells are not inherently scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gotta say, door-to-door religion salesman.
Well, he does mention...
Have you ever answered the door to one of those?
He does say doorbells aren't scary. The doorbell rings, you answer it, and then what's on the other side is entirely different. But that still makes no sense. It's like, then why did you say the doorbells aren't scary if that's not what you're talking about? Anyway, so the guy's a painter. He usually does jobs on houses alone or with a coworker. In this case, Joe. He's doing a house. He's doing a renovation for these two women that live in this house.
Wait a minute.
What?
If he's a painter, why is he hanging drywall?
Is that not part of the? Is that not like a? Maybe that's a function of the job.
I was under the don't get me wrong. Maybe I'm ignorant, and there are many things I know I play that I'm not. But there are many things that I am genuinely ignorant about. But I was pretty sure a painter painted
and didn't do drywall.
And I don't know if there's an actual term for someone who does drywall, but I know that it is a profession.
Yeah.
So
there are. Yeah.
Just kind of right out of the gate, I'm seeing a problem here. I don't know if I'm justified in my problem speculation.
If anybody knows if that is actually part of the job description or not, please leave a comment or send us an email.
Or maybe if it's just something that sometimes is part of the job. Like I said, I've never worked in either profession, but. I was led to believe that if you're a painter, you paint.
You don't do the physical, like the hard, like you don't put a wall up.
Yeah.
And to paint.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a plumber. I also wired the house.
Yeah.
I mined the ore to smelt down the ore to make the freaking pipe. I think you're going above and beyond your job description, sir.
Yeah. I love this episode already. So,
anywho, so he's hanging drywall in this house owned by two old ladies.
Yeah, and they're off. He doesn't know where. He doesn't really care. And the doorbell rings. And they decide to ignore it for a little while because they don't feel comfortable going down and answering the door for somebody's house that they don't own. And a little while later, I think an hour or so passes or something like that, he goes down to grab another sheet of drywall, and he sees that there's a man or a silhouette of somebody outside the door, and so he goes to open it.
The call is coming from just outside of the house.
Oh no! And the doorbell rings, and he opens it up, and it's a man in a really older man, nice suit. Apparently, he's got is it a deep gravelly voice or something like that? I think it mentions. I don't know. It's something. I think I remember hearing it mentioned. It was a deep gravelly voice the guy had. Apparently, left a bad taste in the dude's mouth. And
I've known people with halitosis or whatever that bad. just like, oh, their breath is so rank that it actually leaves a taste in your mouth. Oh,
But the guy's
moving on.
Yeah, the guy's incredibly pleasant. He's just like, "Hi, are you Joe?" And it's like, "No, I'm not Joe." And then Joe upstairs calls like, "Hey, what are you doing, Dave?" And then goes down, and then we find out that Dave is the other guy, is the narrator's name. And Joe comes down, and this old guy has a letter for him, and he's like, "What is it?" And it's like, "I'm just the messenger." It's like, "If it's anthrax, I'm gonna take you with me, old man." And it's like, I appreciate the sense of humor. Okay. So he opens up the letter, checks it out, reads it, and it's essentially the title verse. It isn't Satan, it isn't blah, 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 blah. And he's like, what the hell's this? And then the guy promptly drops dead. Like, he just drops. So eventually the cops and the homeowners show up, and they do an investigation. They take statements and stuff. Everything seems to get done really quickly. Again, it's one of those stories where all that's glossed over in less than a couple of hours, and then they're back they're back at the crime scene. It hasn't been cleared or anything like that. It's been cleared of the body and stuff like that, but they're allowed to go about their normal day. So they decide to just kind of deal with that whole thing by just ignoring it. And so the one woman goes upstairs to rest, and a little time later, Dave goes up to start working on the room, notices that the door is closed, which he didn't remember it being closed before, but he opens it up, and that's where he finds the sister who went upstairs, horribly mutilated and dead, with her chest cavity emptied out, and like entrails and whatnot done up in a pentagram on the ceiling. And then apparently there's other bodies in this room. Like there's like a guy he's never met in there, and then there's one of the cops, and they're all like horribly mutilated and stuff. And there's and on the bed in this room there's a ton of letters. Joe at this point shows up as well, and Joe just like sees the letters, runs over there and starts picking out at them. And it's like, and they're all like one word, they're one sentence parts of that verse. Like, it isn't Satan, it isn't nuclear, it isn't solar storms. And then he rips all of them except for, and then there's at the very bottom of it there's a black letter, and he opens it up, and the story tries to build up some suspense. Like, what is it? What is it? And then the guy Dave is at the doorway. Joe's actually in the room. And so Dave can't see what Joe's looking at outside the window, and he looks outside and is like, "What the?" And tells Dave to get the hell out of there. Right before there's a crash in the window, and Dave is running down the stairs. Looks back. Joe is being dragged in by some gnarled undead hand or something back into the room, and so Dave just books it. Like, he's not even like he thinks about rescuing the other sister, but he ignores it, goes outside, and then that other sister goes barreling out the window, like just ragdolls. And he goes to start his car, and he sees this horrible thing, like this undead creature or something. It's kind of what I envisioned. Coming out the window on the second floor, and then like creepily or freakishly maneuvering itself like a bag of meat down the banister, is it? Or not banister? No, not banister.
Eavesdrop.
Eavesdrop, yes. And then slowly, like, just agonizing, like the story just like, it's like one turn on the car on the motor, and this, like the thing is slowly getting there. One more start, one more, and it just that kind of agonizing reading.
That was just so.
It was you understood what he was trying to do, but at the same time, it didn't really work very well.
But it was so ham-handed that it just was never going to work.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. Hey, it's not working.
Come on,
do something else.
Yeah,
it's the kind of thing that annoys me in a horror movie too.
Yeah, like
it's so cliche.
It's that it's a scene where
it takes me right out of the experience, and
where the clueless guy is trying to get out. The clueless victim's trying to get away from the killer and tries to start his car, and it's not working. And the killer's slowly coming toward him.
It's worse than when they drop their keys.
Yeah.
Because that one always also gets me. Basically, anytime where anyone's trying to start a car, I generally get irritated in any kind of horror-esque story.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's just me, and if it is, fine, but come on, as a society, we got to be getting sick of that thing.
It is a cliche. It is a very well-used cliche.
No. It's it's an overused cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, it's well-worn.
Like,
it's thread fucking bare.
Yeah. Eventually, the car, like, right as this thing's apparently right on his ass, the car starts, and he...
Just like every fucking
movie.
time that this trope is used.
Yeah.
Anywho.
And he's like, out of there, down the corner, and he's in traffic. Fuck. And that's exactly what he's like. He's like, fuck. And he gets a call on his phone while he's in traffic.
My favorite part is cars in front, cars behind. Where the fuck did the cars behind you come from?
Exactly. Like, he just... I know what, I'm not gonna lie. When I first read this, I envisioned a cartoony thing where, like, the car just, like, crammed in between right into traffic and just, like, got stuck in there.
But, like...
And where is this traffic? Like, is it an overpass? Or is it, like, a highway thing they just kind of jumped
Is he on the street that the house is on? Because that's what I'm led to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this impossible car jam.
Just down the
road. Right in front of the neighbor's house.
Okay, I didn't notice that. What I envisioned was, I thought it was said that he turned a corner and was, like, down the road from the house.
Yeah, but I enjoyed my
That's
visual
much funnier.
a lot more.
Yeah. Just suddenly cars everywhere.
And at this point, suddenly cars. At this point in reading the story, I was also so fed up with it that I was just like, you know what? I read your words, but I reject them and substitute my own.
Yeah, no, we'll get into some of the stuff about the story. I enjoyed the story for the most part until the end, but, so he's in traffic, he's stuck in traffic, he gets a call from Joe on his phone, and he answers it, and sees that it's Joe. He's perfectly fine. In fact, he's asking him why he just ran out of the house and whatnot. So he eventually pulls out of traffic, goes to the side of the road, and
stirs his hands
I
for
can't
no
remember if there was
reason other
anything
than that they exist. The phone was still on. Joe asked if I was there, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Was it really Joe? I decided to ask him one thing. What did it say in the last envelope? Static for a second, then a sour taste in my mouth. I knew I wasn't going back to that house. It's curiosity.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, that's... So he goes to the... Yeah, we find out what it is at the end of the story. It's curiosity. It's, I guess, like, curiosity killed the cat kind of thing. Like, I know, it's just, it didn't, like, I didn't get the twist ending. I didn't get the ending's punchline.
Yeah, it was, it just...
The game, you know what it also felt like? The guy, so the story's styled like a guy talking to a dictaphone, and then or to a transcriber, and it also sounds like he's not even recounting a real life event. It sounds like he's just recounting a dream he had the night before. This whole thing seems very like
it's delivered to you as though this is
fact.
Shit that actually happened.
Yeah. Also, he does another thing that kind of irked both of us, at least one of us more than other. The guy goes on tangents through most of the story. And he even mentions that he likes to go on tangents and likes to ramble. And it's like, oh, I'm rambling again. I'm sorry, I do that sometimes. And then it doesn't help the story. It pulls it away from.
It just feels so out of place in a written story that it just pulled me right out of it. And
like the part with the police officers, like he's just like, oh, and then the police showed up and they took the body away, and then the police decided to stick around and start punching dogs and shooting at each other. We all joined in, and it was a rollicking good time. I'm kidding. Why did you have to put that in there?
Yeah,
that pulled me out like that. Like,
like it's a little different when you are watching a movie or a TV program and they do something like that. Because they're actually rambling.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I've never once been writing something and decided to ramble because the act of writing is too focused, it's too planned, it's too intentional.
Yeah.
That, your hand doesn't run away and ramble on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas when you're talking, I mean, look at us. when you're talking to someone, it's a lot easier to ramble. So when it's done, when someone's talking, literally talking, it's a lot, like, it doesn't piss you off.
Yeah.
I mean, it might, but
I mean, like...
You get it.
Yeah, like, I can
Whereas
understand.
in this case, I just don't get it. There's no reason for it.
The only thing I can think of as why that was in there is to try and give this story a feel that it was being recounted by this guy and it was just being dictated or transcribed. But that doesn't help as a story.
Well, and it doesn't ever state that that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. There's
nothing.
There's nothing above or below it saying that like this is a transcription of Dave blah blah blah, blah or Dave the Painter.
Yeah, it's just thrown in for rambling.
It's like, I ramble sometimes, and here's some tangents. It's going to pull you from what's actually happening in the story.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it did for me, is it just, it sucked me right out, and I was just like, okay. And I'm like skimming through the rambling because, you start to recognize what's just completely unrelated to the story.
Yeah.
And you just kind of skim through the ramble to get to, the rest of the fucking story.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, when you're using, some sort of little thing like that, and I'm skimming through it, you probably should have just left it out.
Yeah, like in second editing, maybe.
Yeah, it just...
The other thing, like, that wasn't even like it wasn't even a ramble, like, or wasn't like the other ones, was that he mentions some things in the story that have a little inconsistencies. Like, there is, at the beginning of the story, he mentions while they're doing, like, the drywall stuff, he goes past the radio every so often, like this old crackly radio, and it goes to static every time he goes by it, and he thinks that they joke around that he's demon-possessed or a demon or something like that. And it's never talked about afterward.
It's less of an inconsistency, because you don't know that doesn't happen all the time. It's more of a...
Why was that mentioned?
Yeah. Now, that one, I can buy that as a red herring.
Okay.
Because you're reading a creepy story. Mm. Something is up. You know something is up.
Yeah.
So, and that is, like, literally the first sentence of yeah, wow. I don't know. It's early on.
Yeah.
In the story, so it's early enough that nothing else has happened. Like, the doorbell has not rung.
Yeah, they're just doing their work, and they're doing, like, 400th screw or 400th spiral or whatever. Like, he goes in depth on, like, how to apply drywall, which, I mean, it's...
But no painting.
Yeah, no painting yet.
Yeah, and it's just... But that one was early enough in the story that nothing else has happened. So maybe this is the first thing that happens.
Actually, it also does, like... And then there's the other thing where he mentions that Joe was religious, but it's weird that had nothing to do with what happened today. Like another red herring kind of thing? Or
no, that's that's just pointless words.
Okay.
Because well, he says it, and then he literally says it has no bearing on this story.
Yeah. Also, the one thing another thing I did notice was that in one of the tangents early on, he actually almost kind of goes like meta with the story a little bit, like kind of breaks the fourth wall a bit by saying it's like, oh yeah, it's like that movie, Don't Look Back, where about the old woman kind of look like the old woman from that, and then he starts like kind of going on a tangent about that movie, about how it was effective for suspense, but nothing really happened, so it just became mundane. And I feel like that was kind of the point of the story after reading it through and then looking it over again.
Maybe
like, it just seemed like something like he threw that in there as a self commentary on his own story, or the writer.
It might have been if he had achieved what he wanted to with the writing of this story.
Yeah.
As it stands, it doesn't allude to that, because this movie is apparently a fuck of a lot better than this story.
Yeah.
Just because, there is no effective use of suspense.
Yeah, exactly.
Like...
He tries. He does try.
He tries, but when he tries, all he succeeds at is...
mocking it, pretty much.
Just dragging it out.
Yeah.
And that's not suspense. That's, like, suspense is supposed to, like, have you draw out your terror, not draw out your pain and suffering of dealing with this fucking story.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, is he gonna make it? Or it's like, no, come on, get this monster, kill him, just kill him. It's like, it's the difference between a good horror movie and a slasher flick.
Yeah. It's just, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Well,
there are good parts of the story. Like, there's good ideas in it, but they aren't established. They aren't executed well.
Theoretically, maybe.
Like, I do like the idea of like I just like some of the idea of some of the events that happen, like the creepy old man at the doorstep that hands him a letter and then just dies for no reason, and like just getting an ambiguous letter and stuff. That's kind of interesting, like that, like as a plot hook for a creepy story. And the monster itself, like when we actually see that thing that breaks through the window and crawling, that was kind of a creepy description they gave, but nothing else seemed to be really executed very well, or it was very flamboyantly executed.
Yeah, and I liked how I genuinely did appreciate the fact that, you know, the thing's crawling down the drain pipe, and then the drain pipe rips off the house.
Yeah.
That's a thing that happens.
Would happen, yeah.
Because those things are...
flimsy as hell.
Yeah, exactly. They're not meant to be climbed up or down. So, but I'm looking back at it, and it's like, you know what? I don't know if he did that because of accuracy, or if he did that to draw it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
I want to hope
the engine turns once, and the creature falls. And then the engine turns again.
And the creature's getting up.
And it's still laying there.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Second thought, I wish the creature had just fucking made it down the goddamn drain pipe.
If it had hit that drain pipe, it would just held a little
for
longer.
Inaccuracies, like, yeah, it's inaccurate, but for storytelling's sake, the drain pipe should have held.
Yeah.
Because it would have kept the story from being drawn out. You know,
it wasn't that long of a story, though it is a long story. It's not super long.
No, but
it's
I mean,
I think
compared to Herobrine and
which
Witness,
are barely a couple of paragraphs.
Yeah, and some of the other ones we've done, it is really long. Okay, I may have overused the word "really" there. It's long.
Yeah.
It's definitely far longer than those, but it's not as long as, say, Candle Cove, I believe, would have been long.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, because that was, you know, my first CreepyPasta, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, it is not overly long. I was actually, now that I've read more and more CreepyPasta, I've actually started to, before I actually read this story and I'm on the webpage, I kind of like scroll down and scroll back up, see how much how much page the story is, and try and get a feel for the length, because I've kind of narrowed down where some of my, like, where a good length is for a good CreepyPasta. And this one actually kind of fits in that range where, okay, it might not overstay its welcome, but it, you know, has enough room to actually have shit happen. Yeah. You know, but you can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't judge CreepyPasta by its length. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just... Another thing is, like, it's on the NoSleep thread, which apparently is it's supposed to be like it's supposed to have stories on it that are really or supposed to be like better than like your average creepypasta. It's supposed to be like genuinely creepy, so that you have a little bit of trouble sleeping that night. I didn't get that at all from this one. Maybe we're just a couple of badass mofos.
I don't know.
You know?
Okay. I think at best we're jaded. At best. At worst, we just didn't get the punchline for the story.
What are you talking about? We eat Jeff the Killer for breakfast. And minutes of laughter.
Yeah. Writing wise, was at least done, like, in your opinion, was it at least done well, or was it mediocre? Was it shit?
It's mechanically sound. You know,
that's always a good thing to hear from a mechanic.
Yeah, unfortunately, this isn't an automobile.
Exactly.
like, technically it's written well on a technical aspect. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I don't recall being annoyed by, you know, changing of
Tenses,
yeah. That being said, maybe they're there and I was just too annoyed with the actual story to see them.
Maybe you were skimming past them with the,
yeah, it was, I mean, yeah, like, mechanically it's fine. Again, I think the rambling is ridiculous. I think it's just completely out of place here.
Yeah.
This is a narration. It's not dialogue, per se.
Yeah, like the guy is telling us a story from his point of view, but it's not dialogue. The only dialogue, there is dialogue actually in that he tells us about, but it's not a full dialogue.
Yeah, like, the ramblings don't happen as someone's dialogue. It's, because that would have been acceptable, because then you're just being thorough, right?
Yeah.
But it's like he's writing down every stray thought that crosses his mind while he's writing this out, and that's just implausible.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's ridiculous. I mean...
Now, actually, I do, like, I have done some creative writing stuff, like, and I do, like, on occasion, I'll be writing and then I'll just kind of add something on there, but I don't go into, like, a paragraph of something. But yeah, I could see, like you're saying, like you can't write, like, just a freeform thought, or not freeform, no, that's not the word, like... You
don't write every thought that enters your head, like,
yeah.
You don't, like...
But I have had
while you're writing... Your brain will go off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Of course it will. It's a human brain.
Yeah.
But you don't write it down because it's happened and then it's over before you could even, like, get the thought onto paper.
Yeah.
Because, yes, I'm one of those Neanderthals that still writes on paper. Sorry, people.
Fair enough. But I mean,
I'm a big brown knuckle drag.
I know what the type is.
Me no understand pooter.
Okay.
So, see? I'm talking, and I can go off on a fucking tangent.
Yeah.
Unintentional, example there.
But, like I was trying to say, I hear you for that. And I've definitely, like, I've had structure to my stuff, but I tend to write from my mind, like, just straight from my mind. So I could see that happening where, like, you write something in there that you just kind of thought of while you're writing a story, but you usually end up erasing that.
Or at the very least, making it fit.
Exactly. You don't just, like, I'm rambling again, I'm sorry.
And his ramblings don't fit.
Yeah.
They are actually horribly brought to light as not fitting. Mm-hmm. And...
Like, I almost kind of want to see what would have happened if the story hadn't kept going from the police just showing up and just gunning people down. And that would have been just a spiral into a chaotic story.
Yeah, actually, when that ramble happened, I was like, this story is getting decent.
Yeah,
like, because we're getting into some next level shit here. I mean, he's taking the rules of escalation and skipping steps 3 through 8.
Yeah,
awesome.
And then just kidding.
Yeah. Just kidding. And, like, yeah, because that would have been...
That would have been an interesting story.
There is no way that story would have been less interesting than the one we got.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's another kind of a shit point for this one, is that, you throw out this bit and it would have made a better story than the one I read.
Yeah.
And how unfortunate for me is that as the reader.
You were hoping for that, and then, just kidding.
Yeah.
You cocktease.
Exactly. And, yeah. And what we did get, it just, I don't know.
Like, yeah, the ending didn't make any sense to me. Like, I tried, and I read this thing at least 2 or 3 times.
The ending was actually, I actually didn't hate the ending. The ending was...
I don't get it, like...
It was, for me, it was very reminiscent of, like, a Twilight Zone episode or an Outer Limits episode. Because when they brought the Outer Limits back in the 90s, I was all over that shit like a fat kid on a Sunday. Like, it was... I loved that show. I still love that show. Or even the Alfred Hitchcock Presents show. That show was another one where Now, these ones usually had morals, and I don't get a moral from this.
Yeah, like, what is
But it does have that kind of, don't answer the door in old ladies' houses?
Don't answer the door when you're in a stranger's house, or don't do drywall when you're a painter.
Yeah. And again, we keep going with that joke, and we might look like morons, but hey, I am enjoying the joke.
Yes.
Yeah, it is lacking the moral that those shows and those stories always had, but at the same time, I did kind of appreciate how, no, everything's back to normal. Or is it?
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
or do they?
Yeah.
They made it out. Or did they?
The end. Question mark.
Exactly.
But
that,
so that part I was okay with.
To me, it just left me mixed. Like,
Maybe
I'm
I was
not
just
sure
happy
how to
that the
feel
story was over.
about it. Possibly.
I mean, I'm willing to concede that may have been the case. Because, yeah, it really was... This story was stretched out way longer than it needed to, and for a story this short to feel padded...
Yeah.
That kind of...
It shouldn't have been padded.
Just leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
I heard that's an affliction.
So, yeah, it just, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Alright.
It's a little ham-handed in its padding, and its padding is of little substance.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I have anything else to say, do you?
No.
Alright.
No.
Then we're getting to the part of the show where we see whether or not we would recommend it. I'm conflicted about that.
They left one thing out of the title. It isn't worth your time.
Yeah.
You know, it's not horrible.
No,
I genuinely didn't, like... I was not filled with rage when I read it, like I have been in the past, but at the same time, I just kind of felt like, so, that happened.
Yeah, that was a story.
You know? I guess I'll get on with my life, because this has added nothing to it.
Yeah, like, I got that same kind of feeling after I finished reading. I was like, I don't know how to feel about this story. Because I liked some parts of it, but the ending and just other parts of it didn't make sense to me, so... So, yeah. I mean, I can't, I honestly can't recommend it, as a creepypasta, like as a first read. Like maybe if you're a veteran of creepypasta,
I would recommend this as a companion piece to our little discussion here.
Yeah,
because if you want to know what we're talking about, you should probably give it a read. But if you just, I don't know, if you're recommending creepypasta, like if you've listened to our podcast and you've read this already to know what we're talking about, and you recommend creepypastas to friends, please don't recommend them this one.
Yeah. There are other ones that we have done that we would recommend.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
I can never think of them off the top of my head, but...
1999. I think we recommend that one. Anyway. Okay, so general consensus, wouldn't recommend this one as a first pasta.
Or as any... Like, if you're a veteran, you've read way better than this. You've read way worse than this. Nothing really stands out about this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's my opinion. This one just, it brings nothing to the table.
Yeah. Like I said, there's some cool things I liked in it, or there's some things in it I liked, but as a story, I didn't get it. I didn't really find it creepy. It had potential, but it lost, it jumped the shark a couple of times. On that, or just petered out. So yeah,
or I mean, it actively loses its audience.
Yeah, it actively loses its audience, and
throwing out the rambles.
And it actively it's an actively self-destructing story, because it could have. There are some. If it had gone to a different angle, it would have been really good. But it stuck to this other angle that pulled it away.
Or even if it hadn't have had the paddings. It could have, like, if it had have just been written shorter, it could have maybe been something.
Just done up as a straight-up narrative account of what happened in this guy's day.
Yeah. Skip the rambling, skip the extraneous padding, specifically with the fucking, the car won't start.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Find a different way of telling that.
go see Friday the 13th.
Honestly, I would have been interested to see if this guy is like, it's like, my car's not starting, fuck this, and just starts running down the street to try and escape the creature.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, I don't know where he's located. I was picturing, like, a house in the suburbs.
Yeah, that's how
myself.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah, that's another thing.
You know, safety's right, right there, right?
Yeah, the cops were there really quickly.
So it just kind of, fleeing on foot would have been, and it's like the middle of the day.
Okay.
Fleeing on foot is a valid option. I mean, hell, you run around the corner, bam, you're stuck in traffic, start pounding on windows.
Yes. I know we just did like what we would recommend or not, but like I have something else I just remembered about. Another thing that would have been this a little bit better, or I think if it had gone like a different angle, when his buddy Joe is looking at the last black letter and then looks out the window, but Dave can't see what's out the window, and he's just like staring off like, what the. I almost want it to go like Dave goes and takes a look what's outside the window, and the apocalypse is happening outside. Like, it's not aliens, it's not superstorms, it's the apocalypse. Like, I wanted that, like it was kind of like with you, where it's like I wanted to escalate as soon as the cop thing, and then we didn't get that. I suddenly wanted, like, I was like, oh, is it going to go that way? No, it's just going to have a monster burst through the window.
Yeah, and I think that actually might be part of my feelings on this whole thing as well, is that
a lot of missed spots.
There's opportunities for it to, just go balls to the walls, like, insane. All right, this is gonna get fun, and it's a creature.
Doesn't. Yeah,
it's a generic, bland creature.
Undead creature. Yeah, like we've seen that. Like, the description is something we've seen before.
Yeah, I honestly pictured a large girl from The Grudge.
Yeah, not too far off.
I mean,
for me,
I'm sure it's not there. Like, I'm sure that's not it exactly, but it was my starting place because, and you know what? That's not a horrible place to start, because I love The Grudge for its, creepy little girl. Yeah, that was fun fucking movie.
To watch that movie again. I think we're good then. I think we've fleshed out a lot of our thoughts on the.
Well, I mean, we tried to end and we kept going,
and then we realized there was some more. So
I think the horse is officially dead.
I think we've kicked the horse. Anyway, so as usual, if you like what you heard, if you have different opinions about us and want to vocalize them, you can put them on the comment section below, wherever this gets posted. You can also check it out on iTunes and YouTube, so you can leave comments there or send us a review on iTunes. We are also on Twitter at ReviewCultist, and you can also send us an email to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas. We have a small list going right now that we're slowly getting through, but we're always up for new ones, preferably good ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll take on all comers, but yeah, if you've got a favorite creepypasta and you just want to know what we think about it.
Yeah, if you've been a listener and
I don't think we're,
We rip into them, but we don't, we should probably say that it's not always in, we don't do it in totally in, bad manner or in mean spirit.
No.
We
I genuinely, when I see things I don't like in these creepypastas, I'm trying to help other people who are listening write better ones than the one I just read.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all we're trying to do. It's a discussion podcast. We don't mean any ill will to anybody who writes these.
We don't?
Well, I don't.
I'm sorry, some of these have been pretty bad.
Fair, but until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And this has been El Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
Or don't.
Bye.